Well, good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chuck. And as you can see this afternoon, I'm out in my trailer. And I've got a little trailer project that I'm going to work on. And I figured I'd tell you about it and bring you along with me while I do it. It's going to be a trailer mod. And those of you who watch my channel for a while know that I've made a lot of modifications to my travel trailer. And most people that have one for a long time, especially us guys that are kind of handy around the shop, we always make modifications to our trailers, and we call them mods. And I'm getting ready to make one today. Now, there's another YouTube channel, and I don't remember what the name of it is off the top of my head right now, but that guy's got a trailer just like mine, and he's made quite a few mods to his. And one of the things that he did, when I told my wife about it, she just immediately said, well, you need to do that too. And let me show you what it is. First thing I got to do before I do anything is turn the lights on so I can see something. That's going to mess up the lighting in here. But let me show you what I got in mind. Okay, this is my bedroom, and I've showed that to y'all before. The spousal unit made that quilt. And if you notice, the height of the bed is fairly high above the floor. In fact, I got a tape measure here. Let's just see how high it actually is. I'm looking at, what do we see in here? We can't even see that. 32, yeah, about 33 inches. It's about 33 inches off the floor. Now, that's not a problem for a guy like me getting in on my side of the bed. But the spousal unit is quite a bit shorter than I am. And on her side of the bed over here, she has to kind of hop and scooch and do a bunch of stuff in order to get her bottom end up on the bed in order to get into bed. And what this other guy did, and I don't know if I can get down, see if I can get down here to try to show you. But what he did is right in here, in this spot, he built a little step that sits right in this area right in here. And he put a hinged top on it so it could be used for shoe storage as well. And what that allows his wife to do is step up on that, and that helps her get into bed a lot easier. Well, the minute I told my wife about that, she wanted me to do that. So there's some issues on trying to get that done, and it's a hard place to film with a phone. But let me kind of show you here. Number one is my wife tends to be a bit shoe intensive, and a while back she had me put this shoe rack. You can't even see it here, but there's a shoe rack mounted right here. And you can see how the shoes fit in it. Well, of course, that's going to have to go first thing. Then she got a pair of slippers and a pair of flip-flops here. They'll fit in the new thing. But in order to put this in here, and I'm actually going to lay down here so I can kind of show you better. So let me flip the blanket up out of the way here, if I can do that. Maybe I can just tuck it up under here, so it's out of the way so you can see what we're doing. It's kind of a tough place to work in here. But there's going to be a couple parameters here that I'm going to have to deal with on putting this thing in. Number one is it's got to go from this side right here across over to this side. And then from the floor, it's limited on how far it can come up, essentially by those outlets over there. So what I need to do is I'll measure it out and see how far I can go with it. But the other thing is if I put a lid on it that lifts up, that'll lift up, part of it over here is going to come up and underneath the platform where the bed's at. So I can't make the whole lid lift up. I'm going to have to make part of it lift up. So first thing I need to do is get some measurements and figure out exactly what I'm dealing with. And then I guess I'm going to have to remove this shoe caddy thing here. And this is so dark down here. There it's showing up. But I'm going to have to remove this thing because that thing's not going to be able to live there anymore. And it actually goes up and mounts right over the top of the edge of that. So there's a screw right. Man, our bed thing's in the way here. There's a screw right behind here where it laps over the top. And then there's another one down at the other end. So the bottom of this thing isn't even fastened in there. It's designed to fit over top of a door. So I'm going to remove that first thing before I do anything else. And then my next measurement will be from the bottom of that outlet over there, right there, down to the floor, and it'll tell me how high I can make this thing, because I think I can only make it maybe 7 inches or so, which will be just about right for a step. And I think it'll help her a lot to be able to step up there and get back in bed. And then coming toward me from that wall down there, coming back toward me, I think it can come back about 18 inches or so. And that'll give her a good step so she can stand. And that's another thing. It has to be strong enough that to be stout enough to be used as a step as well. And so I got to have to figure all that out. But the first thing I got to do is get some measurements. And I can't do that and hold the camera. So I'm going to come back to you later here in a little bit, and I'll show you what I come up with for a design. Okay, I got the stuff moved out of the way a little bit so you can kind of see a little better what's going on. There's that shoe caddy right there, and that was one of those that fit over the top of a door, and I got the screws out of it. But what it did is I had to, in order to put it in here, I had to cut the back of it off here in order to work. Well, there's 2 screws holding that in place, and I got them both loose. A screwdriver there. So let's just take those on out. And then let's remove this shoe caddy gizmo here. Set that out of the way. That was a good idea, but I think we're going to replace it with something different. Well, now you can see how much room we got down there. Now I went and measured the front steps, and the front steps are 7.5 inches high. The steps, of course, are measured by what they call a rise and run, and rise is this difference between the step and the next step, and run, of course, is how long the steps are on the top. Well, this thing here, you need to be able to stand up on it, and you need to be able to turn sideways, so it needs to be a little bit longer. But the rise, I can match the steps. I can match the rise on the steps coming into the trailer and make this 7.5 inches. And I think that'll be about right. And this is 23 inches wide from here to over there. And I think I can make that about 20 inches long and about 7.5 inches tall. Now, one of the other issues about it is I don't think I can build it and set it in place here. I think I'm going to have to cut all the parts and assemble it here in place. And then, of course, as I said, the whole top can't lift up because then it's going to hit the bottom of this right here. So I'm going to have to make the lid is going to have to be a little bit smaller than the whole top of this thing. So anyway, that's my measurements, and we're going to go back in the shop and we're going to see what we can come up with. I think I have all the necessary stuff to build it in my scrap, but we'll just have to see. And I may have to. The only thing I might not have would be hinges. But I might put a drop-in lid in it instead of a hinge lid. And then in that case, it could be totally removed to make access a little bit better. And I wouldn't need any hinges. So I'll be back with you again in a little bit when I got something to tell you. Okay, so I'm down here by the garage. I'm using my truck as a workbench. And there's the framework for that. Actually, I could go ahead and take this off. Don't need that anymore. But it's kind of interesting how on this side here, you see this is spaced out, and there's a notch right there. Well, there's a molding runs right across there, so I had to space that out 1/2 inch and cut that little relief on both ends down there so molding wouldn't get in the way. And then back over on this side, there's also a molding, so I had to put a little spacer in there to make it space that out correctly for that molding. And so that's kind of what that's where we're at now. Actually, the spacer, the molding's on this side. So the spacer's on that side. So there's a molding here and a molding underneath. And I had to take into consideration for that. So this is 23 and 1/8 wide and 20 inches this way. Long, I guess that would be. So we're going to take that up and we're going to see if it fits in place. I'll bring you along. Okay, so there it is in place. Once again, it's a little hard to shoot inside this close quarters of the phone. But that fits there now. One thing I didn't mention in the last segment, I should have, is that in talking with the spousal unit about that, she decided it did not need to be 7.5 inches high. And she said it only needs to be about 4 inches high. So this is a 2x4, which is 3.5 inches, and I'm going to put a 1/2 inch top on that. But in order to put it in there, I had to put the framework in there. And she doesn't necessarily care if we use this for storage either. And I thought that would be a good idea, but because there's a little bit of storage room in there, but right now, she just kind of wants me to put a top on it and make sure it's going to be right and everything, and then I'll figure out how I'm going to carpet it or finish it or what I'm going to do. I've got some paint that'll match that, So I'll probably at least paint this front part of it, which will involve taking it back out again, I guess. And so we'll see how that all goes. But that's what I've got right now, and it fits in there tight. You can see that when I talked about the relief molding, you can see the molding down there in the bottom, right down here. So I had to cut a little relief for that, and I had to space that 1 2x4 out from the wall. This comes out a 1/2 inch. So I had to put a 1/2 inch little piece of scrap in there to space that out. But that's so anyway, that fits in there good. It fits in there tight. I don't even know that I'm going to need to anchor it. I probably will, and what I'll do is I'll go on the back side of this and put a couple screws in this way into this 2x4. And I shouldn't have to do anything on this side, or shouldn't have to do anything on that side, because this thing's not going to go anywhere. This is jam fit in there pretty tight. I measured pretty close. So right now I got to go and cut myself the top to go on that, and then I'll figure out how I'm going to anchor that. I'm still thinking about setting it up so it'll come out so we can use that for storage, because that's about 3.5 inches. That's enough for a few pairs of shoes and some other stuff. So that's where I'm at right now. Once more, it's kind of hard to film in here, and once I get set up, and I'm laying down on my back right now to hold the camera, and once I shut the camera off, I have to shinny my way out of here and have to darn near call the rescue squad to get me out of here. I get jammed in this corner. But I'll be back again and show you some more progress. There, I found a piece of 1/2 inch plywood in my scrap pile, and I believe I'll be able to cut that off and make that into a lid for that. And didn't say it before, but I'm using the DeWalt tools that my nephew sent me, and once again I appreciate it. And but I got kind of a little funny story. Let me see if I can get over here and talk to you and try to get not too much into the sun. But anyway, my mail carrier just stopped by a little bit ago to drop off a package. And it wasn't my regular mail carrier, it was a new guy. I hadn't seen him before. And he come down and he handed me my package, and he looked at me and he says, "You're the YouTube guy, aren't you?" And, well, yeah. Well, it turns out he watches my channel. And he was actually watching my channel before he moved up here and got on with the post office. So that was pretty cool. I got to shake his hand, and we got to meet, and he's a local guy, and he likes my videos and kind of appreciates what I do, and that kind of made my day, and I thought that was all right. So I'm going to get back and finish cutting this and go up there and make it fit, and then I'll figure out how I'm going to anchor it. And I'll be back with you again and show you the finished result. Well, there it is. My top fit just perfect. Doesn't move a bit. And I left about a 1/2 inch lip in the front here. So if I put carpet or something on it, I can kind of wrap that and make a wrapped edge. I'm going to take that, and I think I'm going to take it back in there and maybe dig the router out and round off this edge right here. Maybe just do it with a sander so it's not quite so sharp. But the rest of it works. I put the bed down, and I actually sat on it, and it actually does, even with me, it makes me sit on the bed a lot easier. And I kind of think it's not going to be quite tall enough for the spousal unit, but this is what she wanted, so we made it the way she wanted it. And maybe I'll see if I can get her to come out here and try it out and see if she likes it before I do go any farther with it. So I'll show you the final result when I get totally done with it. But there it is. It's the idea anyway works, and we'll be back with you again here in a little bit. Well, folks, there's the finished product. It's all done, and because she didn't want to go as high as we initially thought, I was able to put the shoe rack back in there, so she's still got a place to store her shoes. And I haven't put any kind of covering on that yet because I don't know for sure what she's going to want. But what I did do is, you notice that face down there is now the same color as all the cabinetry and stuff is. And I didn't paint that. What I ended up doing, and I've done it before, is just use plain old Gorilla Tape. It's the right color brown to match all the interior of my trailer. And I've used it a couple other places as well. So I faced that bottom 2x4 with it there, and that'll look just fine. And then I'll figure out whether she wants carpet or what she wants on that. The whole thing it can be disassembled and removed, so there's no issue with that. And so I'm going to call this project done for right now. And let me come back up here where I can talk to you. And it's kind of funny sometimes how a project will take all afternoon and $1,000 worth of tools to do a $10 project. But I had everything I needed in my stash. I didn't have to spend a nickel. And if this makes the spousal unit happy and able to get in and out of bed a little bit easier, it's definitely worth it. And I'm not going to put a covering on it until I find out what she wants and make sure that it's high enough, because I'm still questioning whether it's really high enough. But the nice part about it is it's only being 4 inches tall like that, we can still use that shoe rack. So that's kind of a little, that's the mod for today, I guess, or the project for today. So let me tell you, as I always do, take care of each other, love each other, and show gratitude for what you have, because there's a whole lot of people that don't have what you do. And so I'm going to go ahead and close this bit, lower this bed back down, and let me give you one more look at that gorgeous quilt that my wife made a few years ago. And until I talk to you again, let me just tell you, peace out.